Hi, baby boomer fans. We are Jackie and Janine, the Pfeiffer sisters, and love to talk about the 1950s, inviting you to reminisce with us as we explore experiences of that decade. Grab your favorite malt or Green River. Make sure you are wide awake and get ready to be inspired about the 1950s. Welcome to the 1950s Fun Chat. Hello, everybody. Golly, are we excited to share this fun chat with you? This is number 129, Jackie. But you know what's going to be so interesting about this? We'll have to let our viewers wait and see what will be so interesting about this fun chat.
Okay.
Can you introduce us, get into our program and introduce our guest, please?
Okay, so first of all, viewers, take a look at the purple banner on the bottom. We'd ask you if you would please go to www.whilethewindmillwatch.com. There you will find all sorts of information about the book, the authors, the vendors, the events, and in the upper right-hand corner, the 1950s Fun Chat. As Janine mentioned, this is number 129, so you could spend a whole day or plus viewing the people who we have interviewed. Upper right-hand corner, gaze your eyes up there. You'll see our book, While the Windmill Watched, a slice of rural America in the 1950s. This is a very easy to read and interesting, we hope, book. The cover is a beautiful North Dakota sunset, which wraps around the book. And you'll see a silhouette of two little girls and a silhouette of a windmill. And on the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a little white dot, which indicates the National Independent Press Award in the regional category for nonfiction. And this book was considered the distinguished favorite. So that little book is very proud to wear that little emblem. We'll get on with our show today. Who said that?
I don't know.
With our show. It's a 1950s thing.
Yeah, it must have been the 50s. It was great.
Yeah, I think it was. It was. Anyway, we're going to introduce you to Sheila Shotwell. Sheila was born in 1954 in Saginaw, Michigan, and has lived in Grand Rapids and other urban locations. Sheila has an associate degree in liberal arts and over 300 hours of supplementary classes in theater and Jewish education, plus acquired knowledge from the other writers in the weekly writer group. Sheila's resume includes actress, teacher, Jewish education director, a prolific essay, poetry, novel author, and more. Woo! She is a passionate blues fan and considers the Mississippi Delta in her second home. In addition to live music, her hobbies are reading and antiquing, concentrating on decades of the 50s and 60s, which we are happy to try and find out about. So Sheila and her husband, Greg, reside in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They have 3 children, 5 grandchildren. So Sheila, we welcome you to the 1950s Fun Chat.
Yeah. Oh, how fun to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So to begin with, what caused you to begin collecting vintage 50s clothing and household items at the age of 16?
Well, my mother had a few things left from that era, and I found myself as a teenager. I was, sort of a rebel type, and I wanted to look different. And I mean, not in the beginning, we all want to be very conformist in the beginning, but when I started to branch out a little in my style, I started to wear a coat here and there that she owned. And then I remember walking into a church rummage sale and finding a house dress that I just thought was fantastic. And I wore it over a leotard, and it just went from there.
How fun is that, going to the rummage sale and finding a find?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you've been, go ahead, Janine.
Well, and with your house decorated in the 50s look, can you tell us about some of those items that you have in your home?
Oh, sure. A lot of the things I have inherited from my my grandma and aunt. I have almost their entire collection of Fiesta wear, and it's on display in the kitchen. I had a special cupboard built for it, and nobody can use it.
Right.
I don't know, once in a while. And then I also inherited things from, I took care of a neighbor lady, and I got some stuff from her after she passed. And so, but mainly it was a matter of, I became really into going to estate sales in my 20s. And I collected a lot from estate sales. And back then things were very reasonable. And actually a couple of friends of mine, along with me, we sold vintage clothes for a while. We'd have vintage clothing sales. And because, I was finding wonderful stuff that didn't fit me. So I would,
Well, speaking of vintage clothes, did you ever have one of these little dolls?
Well, I didn't. I had a circle skirt or two, but not the poodle.
Circle skirt.
How about the crinoline?
Oh, yeah.
Aren't they fun?
Very fun. Oh, my gosh. I hope you dance in them.
Well, we have a story we can share about that, but we won't hear because we don't have too much time. But they were fun. They were fun. Mm-hmm. And I know the draperies behind you that show up on your screen. Tell us about those.
Well, I have bark cloth drapes in oh my goodness, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I guess about 5 rooms, chenille curtains from a bedspread in the upstairs bathroom. These particular ones behind me have a little funny story. I was going over to my sister-in-law's house, and I knew that she had bought a cottage, but I went to her house for some reason and she wasn't home. And I peeked in the window and I saw a stack of these drapes that are behind me. And I almost fainted. I called her and I said, because it was not her style. And I said, what on earth, where did you get all those curtains you have stacked up in the window on the dresser or whatever it was? And she said, oh, those are going to be paint drop cloths. They were in the cottage. And I was, oh no. So I have lots of those. And I even have a rocking chair here in the room that I use that I got upholstered with one as well.
How neat is that? Yes. And are those what are there birds in those? Or?
No, they're just plumes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in our house, Jackie, what were our draperies like?
Well, they were like kind of plumy, but they were ferns.
Oh, well, I guess you're right. These are ferns too. Yeah, I think that's true.
Ferns and flowers, big flowers.
Yeah. The ones I have. Excuse me.
That's evident in one of the pages of our book.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, the ones I have in the living room, I was one of the greatest scores ever. I was going to the beach with a friend, and there was a garage sale but we live near Lake Michigan, and we stopped in there, and the drapes in the living room were actually in the actual department store box they'd been put in, and they'd never been used.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah.
Oh, the finds that you come across are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So are you still searching?
Not too much. I have too much stuff, and I'm, now that I'm older, I worry about who's going to go. My one daughter loves all this and does this kind of thing with me. The other one could care less. I don't go too often. Once in a while, just for fun. But I stick to little things because I've got too much.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose with all the things you have, you could open a museum.
My house is like a time tunnel. I mean, really. I've had a couple of different film crews use my house. I was on a children's television show between, I think it was 2006 and 2009, and they filmed here twice. And then I was in another film in like 1994, and they did a little scene in the kitchen. So
how cool is that? Do you dress in vintage clothing?
Well, I did more in my 20s and 30s. I mean, because when you're younger, it doesn't look as fast to me. As I've gotten older, I'm a lot more selective because I don't want to look like I'm in a costume. I wear mostly sweaters and jackets. I put them with jeans, or I have a few skirts, but mostly sweaters and jackets and jewelry. I have a lot of jewelry, but just a few pieces. I used to even wear the hats. I probably have 100 vintage hats in my collection.
Oh,
you could do a whole show on my hats.
Can we come visit?
Oh, yes.
So I can see that this would be, you could provide a style show, and then you could maybe for your church or whatever they want to have a fundraiser, you could supply all of the items to wear or sit around and make some money on it.
I have a couple closetfuls, believe me.
Yeah.
Tell us about the jewelry of the 50s. I kind of have an idea what we wore, but what do you have there?
Brooch. Right now, it's got some little green rhinestones in it. I like brooches, and I think that they're really fun because they can stand out and really accent something. And I think brooches are they say 40s and 50s to me more than any other piece of jewelry. I mean, obviously they wore necklaces and earrings and everything too, but I don't know, brooches just say 50s to me.
Well, in the sparkly, the rhinestone look, I think, came out. Even Woolworths, the 5 and dime store, has lots of options.
Right. Well, I love blouses particularly, and jackets that have rhinestone buttons. And I think it might be a reminiscing of a memory of my Aunt Dorothy used to buy me something she called lounging pajamas. And I don't know if I was a little girl, and they would have quilted jacket with little pants. Remember those?
Yes.
And I think at least one that she bought me had rhinestone buttons. So I have an old attachment,
And weren't they made out of the satin?
Yeah, right.
Oh, they were called bed jackets.
Well, that too. I have some bed jackets, But if they had bottoms, she called them lounging pajamas. I don't know.
Did you ever have pop beads?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And tell us about them. Colors, how did you wear them?
Well, I didn't own any, but I remember going in kindergarten to a little girl's house that had a great big jar of those, and I was in awe. I thought she couldn't get me away from those.
Yes. Well, speaking of pop beads in jars or jars of beads, were you ever around button jars?
Oh, I have a huge button collection upstairs. Huge. Yeah.
Oh, I'm drooling.
Yeah.
Well, how colorful those must be. Or can you think of a certain type of button that stands out in that collection?
Oh, I have so many that I love. I like the ones that are two-tone, especially. And sometimes I've taken a boring vintage piece, like a jacket or something, and put a different set of buttons on. A couple times I've done that.
Yes.
Yeah. You
would have a collection. Plethora. You're your own button company.
Selling my Etsy or something. So let's move on to a different topic. You're very multifaceted. So what inspired you to write young adult novels? And what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome when writing these novels?
Well, I set out, to write a memoir, and I had several memoir type pieces, and I had a couple of them published, and they're on my website if anybody's interested. And then I kept thinking, how can I put the glue in this to make a book of those? And I was spinning my wheels. I wasn't getting anywhere. So then it occurred to me that I didn't have to do a memoir, that I could, because as a child, and still, I love fiction. I love reading novels. And I thought, maybe I could just take the stuff in my life, the quirky stories, and there's plenty, and different, aspects of growing up in more the 60s for me, and put them into a novel. And then I can, I don't have to, if it's fiction, I don't have to be exact. I can make some stuff up. And that turned out, I guess now they call it creative nonfiction. And that's what I did. So it was the biggest challenge, I guess, would be trying to, make sure that it was relatable for people to read. And the interesting thing is they are young adult books, but I really and truly only hear from adults. They really took off with adults. And so I think anybody that's nostalgic, so which is a lot of us.
Do they take place in the 50s and 60s?
The first book starts in 1967, and the character is 13. And then the second book picks up 2 months after that book ends. And then my third book, which just came out in August, this past August, that has nothing to do with the first two. Those two go together. This one is separate, and this one goes back and forth in time. Half of it takes place in Selma, Alabama in 1964-65. And it has a civil rights story going on in it. And then the other half takes place in 2019 here in Grand Rapids. And I really rewrote the whole thing in the last couple of years, but I set it purposefully. I kept it in 2019 because of I didn't want to mess with the pandemic stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sheila, tell us what your website is so that folks can go there and learn more about your books.
Okay. It's my name, Sheila Solomon Shotwell, all one word, .com.
Okay. And then tell us about your Facebook page too. That's how I became aware of you. I think it's phenomenal what you have on that Facebook page.
Thank you. Well, I started it way back in 2015. I think it was before the first, definitely before. The first book came out in 2017, but it took a while to get things rolling. So I started the page to sort of whet people's appetites, if you will. And I didn't put a whole lot of effort into it back then. I'd post a few things a week or whatever. And then after the book came out, I did more. And then I got more following because I had a couple of, book signing things. I had actually had a wonderful program at our downtown library on the first book. And that kicked up more interest. And it really started, I think probably during pandemic, I just decided to put more time and effort into the posts. And by then I get a lot of things just sent to me. Once you start doing that, it's like Pinterest is on to you, and so forth. And so I kicked it up and started. First, I went to 6 posts a day, and then now I do about 10 to 15. Wow. And I was at the 200 follower mark for a very long time, and I didn't think it would ever even get to 500. And now, just in the last year and a half, I'm up to 15,000.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And it's fun because people have conversations on there. They feel like friends, and I get private messages, and the books, a lot of them are buying the books. And
so what is the focus of your Facebook page?
The focus is our pictures and music and movies and anything pop culture from the 50s and 60s. I certainly lean toward the 60s because that's when the books take place. But because all of us who, most of us, I shouldn't say not all, but most of the people that are following certainly have memories of the 50s. I would say my readers are between the ages of probably 55 and 85,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a whole lot of people that are younger than that. So the 50s are very relatable, and and I get lots of good positive feedback from those posts as much as the 60s.
So when you're writing a book, what denotes a young reader to an adult reader?
Right. Well, nowadays, not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of difference. And I'll say that because when I was a bookseller back in the 80s, I had the children's and middle grade and young adult department. That was my area to watch over. And back then there wasn't a lot of young adult books, and they tended to be very similar and not a lot more sophisticated than the middle grade books, which are like, 5th through 7th. Now, it's the whole category has changed dramatically in that they're a lot more adult-ish. They have more colorful, to say, they're more explicit. They're maybe going to have swearing or, some sexual references, things that, you wouldn't expect, but it's kind of become the norm, kind of like society,
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable writing like that for today's culture?
Well, I do, mostly because it's adults that are reading them. I kind of knew that going in, and the reason I made the first book, for young adults is because the main character in that book has a terrible, as I did, terrible case of psoriasis.
Oh.
And I ran a psoriasis support group at one time, and I met a filmmaker from California through that effort, and he had 2 films out about dealing with psoriasis. And I was so moved by the films. I actually brought him here and we showed the movie at a theater here and we both spoke. But I kept thinking, boy, I would have benefited so much had these existed in my youth.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought about, if there'd only been a novel whose character, in which the character had it. And I thought, that's it. That's when I decided to veer off the memoir path and go into the novel.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And as you had said earlier, then the interesting thing is that it doesn't have to be all true. You can stretch it.
Right. But the funny thing is, there's some very kooky stories in both those first 2 books. And the kooky stories, I always, those are the ones that are true. I had some funny things happen as a kid. The things that I made up were more like the day-to-day, because, you can't remember what day you went to Woolworths and picked up the little turtle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you have an allowance back in your childhood?
Oh boy, I don't think till high school. I don't remember an allowance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we never did have an allowance.
Yeah.
Dad always said, I will give you whatever you need. And then we had to determine what were needs and what were wants.
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, my mom, I lived with my mom. My mom was a single mother. My dad lived in Saginaw, which was a couple hours away, and I didn't see him very often. And she struggled it most of the time. I mean, it got a little better as I got into like 8th grade and beyond. Her job must have been paying more. Mm-hmm. But prior to that, yeah, there were some slim times.
I know some of the pictures that you've put on your Facebook page have to do with televisions of that era, the 50s. Tell us about those televisions and how they brought us united us.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think some of the greatest shows and movies came out of the 50s myself, and music. As a little girl, I was very lonely, and my sister was 10 years older, so I was alone a lot. And I thank goodness for, Captain Kangaroo and, shows like that. Miss Francis, I don't know if you guys had Ding Dong School.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I have a Ding Dong School lunchbox right here on the floor.
Can you show it to us?
Oh, sure. I have a lot of things I'd love to show you, but I don't know. Let me see if I can. So yeah, TV. I love Lucy, Leave It to Beaver. I have a lot of Leave It to Beaver stuff. That I'm kind of known for loving Leave It to Beaver. Okay, so
Gosh Steve for Gosh Wally.
Yeah, here's the lunchbox.
Okay.
It's not, it's kind of plain and dull, but there she is.
Is it metal?
No, it's that suitcase material.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you call that.
Mm-hmm. Jackie, you had your little suitcase that you had for your holding your dance shoes. Wasn't that kind of the same thing?
Yes, I still have it.
Yes.
Here's a couple other things I pulled to show you. After you mentioned that when we chatted before, this is one of my favorite. This is a purse.
Oh, nice.
Remember those that they were lucite. They're called lucite purses.
Yes.
I have a few. Mm-hmm. And then you had said something about pictures, and I have these. This is just a little one. I have these flowering pictures all over the house. There's probably a bad reflection. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And my kitchen is filled with chalk fruit.
Oh, I've forgotten that.
Well, my whole kitchen walls are covered.
Yes, how cool.
Dust collectors from the 50s.
Yes. Oh, yes. I know. The dusting. Oh, yes. The dusting.
Were you able to bring up a chair?
Yes. I did. I don't know how to quite get it into the picture.
You have to lift it up. Oh, there it is.
Oh, wait.
There we go. There we go. Whoa.
Very 50s.
I'm not good at this.
Beautiful.
Kind of see it.
Those chairs that material was apt to tear, but yours looks like it's in great shape.
Yeah, there's 2 of those. They are in really good shape. Oh, I had pulled something else. Oh, yeah, here it is. This is, I have a lot of TV themed things in my den, and this is one I thought people would enjoy seeing. It's a tray.
Oh, yes.
Well, let me sit down to show it to you better.
Yeah, lift it a little bit higher, please.
There we go. It's
The
a
lovely
tray.
little Lennon sisters and Lawrence Welk. Yes.
Yes.
So that's right from my wall.
Okay.
So yes, I just have ridiculous amounts of stuff, as you can see.
Sheila, did you play with paper dolls?
Oh, I still do.
Oh,
I
well,
have a collection, and my granddaughters, they're getting a little older now. They're 10 and almost 12, so they're not quite as interested. But they live in the Chicago area, which is almost 3 hours away. When they came to visit for their first 9 and 10 years, they didn't hardly get in the house, and they were on my chenille bedspread playing paper dolls with me.
Cool.
In fact, I have paper dolls in my bathroom that I change their outfits seasonally, and they're in there right now, right in front of me.
is that right?
Oh yeah.
Fun. And Jackie, what did you show up there?
Oh, I showed my Lennon sisters a coloring book.
Oh, I had those. Yeah. Well, are those from your childhood, or did you?
Yeah, right. I have a lot of things from my childhood.
Oh, it's a coloring book.
It's a coloring book, and I dated them always, and it was like 1959. I did that.
Oh.
So did you,
And,
Jackie? Did you have Lennon sisters paper dolls too, or was just the coloring book?
you know, I may have, but I don't have those. I just have generic paper dolls, and they're kind of in poor shape too. But I just have one.
You know what? One of my greatest finds was, about 4 or 5 years ago on my birthday. One of the things I like to do on my birthday is go antiquing, and my daughter and I went in her Chicagoland area, and I can't even still believe it. I found these crisp, like brand new, never cut out McGuire sisters.
Oh,
they're
that's
so
a treasure. They're probably worth a lot more than you paid for them too.
Yeah, probably. I think I paid $7.
Can you share with our audience who the McGuire sisters are or were?
Well, they were a singing group that you would probably remember for their song "Sincerely," which I got to sing in a play, not by myself, with two other women, and so I have a particular attachment to the McGuire sisters because of that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Did they do the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B?
No, I think that's the Andrews sisters.
Oh yes,
right.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yes, that was the 40s though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So how about on TV programs? You mentioned a few kids programs. Was there some, Ed and I Love Lucy? Was there Ed?
I was just going to say I Love Lucy and Leave It to Beaver were the big standouts to me.
Okay. Any Westerns? Cowboy shows?
Oh, sure. And I liked Wagon Train a lot.
Oh, right.
And Highway Patrol. Don't ask me why.
Right.
Highway Patrol.
I think it's the theme song. Yeah.
That's it.
Tootie? Wasn't Tootie the old
Dick? Joe Friday and his partner.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Look at how enthusiastic we 1950s gals get about that.
Oh, and then going back to kids, you mentioned Captain Kangaroo, and then there was always the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yes. Yeah, the Mickey Mouse Club. Oh, yeah.
And Howdy Doody.
Howdy Doody, I barely remember, but I know here comes my cat. My sister watched that because, like I said, my sister was almost 10 years older. So I remember that was a favorite of hers. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the kids were sitting in the peanut gallery, and that term peanut gallery has kind of moved on through the years to mean something like people who aren't quite as important.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Tell us about hairstyles of the 1950s. Do you recall those?
Oh, I do recall. I just loved French, and I still do French twists. I think French twists are so elegant and so beautiful. My mom always wore hers in the well, not always, but that in my memory, she wore the short kind of curly do that a lot of ladies had, and I always wanted long hair, and she would always cut it into a pixie. Remember? Pixie haircuts.
Yes, yes. Then in our area, ponytail. If you had long hair, it's usually in a ponytail with a scarf tied around it at the top.
Right. And one of the main characters in my first book always has a ponytail with a scarf, and that's kind of her signature.
Yes. Tony home perms, those were huge back then. Did you have any experience with us?
I got a perm once I have curly hair, but for some reason prior to adolescence, it was not curly. So they sent me to a beauty school for a perm, and it just was disastrous.
Ooh, yeah.
They mean my mom and sister.
Yeah, disaster. They're disastrous no matter where they're given.
Yeah.
And the smell of those home perms was just
yes.
So here,
like that.
Here are the little
curlers.
Curlers, and then we put this paper around the curler, and they were a variety of sizes and colors. So and then after that you keep your hair wherever I am here.
Brush rollers and
the plastic rollers. You stick a pick in there. And then before that, there were these. I think these maybe were Mom's 1940s.
Oh, I have some of those. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So
would it be hard to keep for the hair to stay in that metal roller? Wouldn't it slip right out?
Like it.
Well, it depends upon the length of your hair. Now, there's another metal roller that is this, and then you slip this on top of it.
Oh, I've never seen those. Huh. Interesting.
But it's mostly long hair.
Shampoos, kinds of shampoos were very slim back then.
Yes.
And do you recall any brand names?
Oh, Halo, Prel, Breck. Those are the ones I mostly. Luster Cream.
And White Rain.
White Rain. I always wanted my mom to buy that, and she didn't.
I wanted to be
that reminds me of jingles. TV jingles. Use new White Rain shampoo tonight, and tomorrow your hair will be sunshine bright.
Oh,
yeah. There were so many jingles back then.
Right.
And really, going back to Breck, there was this beautiful blonde hair in print advertising. This beautiful blonde-haired girl, usually wearing a gold sweater, jewel neckline sweater, or pink maybe too,
or green.
Yes, and who didn't want to be a Breck girl?
Absolutely.
Oh wow, I never did achieve that.
And when I was little, I wanted to be one of those Charmin girls.
Oh yes,
the toilet paper. I have one of those hanging in my downstairs, my basement bathroom.
Who are these?
Do you know that one of those girls is Brooke Shields? That's how she got her start.
Oh, really? I did know that once. Yeah, but I forgot.
The times.
Anyway, so we move on to how did you become acquainted with the blues?
Oh, well, I didn't even know I was quite acquainted with the blues when I was in high school. The rock music I gravitated toward has now, I realize, a blues background. It's a blues sounding rock. And then in my senior year, somebody came in to my house with a guitar and started to play a Mississippi John Hurt song, who I had never heard of, and that was kind of my introduction to the older blues guys. I didn't know from anybody, and so I began to enjoy blues quite a bit at that time and beyond. But it wasn't until probably around 2000. I mean, throughout the years, I would go to a blues concert here and then, but I was so busy. I had so much going on in my life. I cannot begin to tell you. I didn't have time for many leisure activities at all. So finally, in about 2005, I heard about Clarksdale, Mississippi, and that Morgan Freeman had a blues club there. And I had always had a really strong feel. Prior to 2005, I constantly dragged my husband down south. I had a huge thing for the civil rights history and just different aspects of the South, especially the Delta just had a mystique sound to me. Mm-hmm. So when we went in 2005, we found out about this one particular festival, and we have never missed since. And it's in the spring, and we also go, the Clarksdale is kind of the home of the blues. Everybody from Muddy Waters to John Lee Hooker. I mean, all the big names came from that area, as well as a lot of other famous people, such as Tennessee Williams. So we also go to the Tennessee Williams Festival there in the fall. And it's really become our second home. And most of the people that attend these festivals return and return and return. And they come from all over the world.
Well, you have your own fraternity of friends through that. Do you correspond with them throughout the year?
I actually have a good friend that I made about 13 years ago there. We were sitting together on a ledge in a juke joint, and a young man came by selling CDs. And he said, we don't remember which one he said it to first, but he asked one of us, what's your name? And I think it was her. And she said, Sheila. And I said, I'm Sheila. And that did it. And she is one of the loveliest women I've ever had the privilege of knowing. And she lives in Kansas City, but we keep in touch. Yep. And
how fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
We had a neighbor girl named Sheila. I'm thinking maybe that was of that era, that named the popularity of it.
I bet. Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Jackie.
One more question. What about the 50s that has influenced you the most? Can you pinpoint that?
Well, that's interesting. I guess I might have to say 2 movies. One of the movies is Imitation of Life. And it might be the first movie I remember ever seeing, the one with Lana Turner. There's an older version as well, but the one with Lana Turner, I believe it was 1959. And, the movie is about racism, and really and truly, it had a huge impact on me, and probably, and I'm just thinking of this now, might have been what urged me on to my civil rights interests and such. The other movie is a French movie called Mr. Hulot's Holiday, and it's almost silent. I mean, there's very little dialogue in the movie. It's kind of slapstick, and it's about some people that go to a seaside resort in France for vacation, and it's kind of silly, but it's very soothing to me. In fact, I tell people, if I'm able, I'd like to watch this on my deathbed, because it's I know that sounds morbid, but you got to plan these things.
That's right.
And my Chihuahua is named Mr. Hulot, actually.
Oh, well, can we see those movies on YouTube for free? Those old movies.
Not sure, but you can probably. I bet they're streaming, or maybe you can even get them at the library on DVD.
Oh, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I watched Imitation of Life sometime in the past 2 years on one of the somehow streaming, if you have Netflix or something.
Yeah.
How
fun. Viewers, we hope you've been smiling as much as we have throughout this whole fun chat, because it has been a walk down memory lane and then some. How wonderful. Sheila, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a clear privilege.
And we want to encourage our viewers to go to your website, SheilaSolomonShotwell.com, and also check out your Facebook page. And is that just titled Sheila Solomon Shotwell?
Well, it isn't. It's Sheila Solomon Shotwell, author, but I don't know anymore if you have to do that. In the beginning, I don't know. It's got a little black and white picture of me in the 8th grade graduation dress. So
very typical.
You'll know you're on the right one if you see that.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, ladies. Take care.
You're welcome.
How can you wrap up?
Viewers, before you disappear, please touch the red subscribe button and the blue thumbs up button. We would like to add you to our very, I was going to say intimate, but to our collection of viewers and friends. We do say thank you. So until next time, tell your friends, even your family, about the 1950s fun chat. Until then, toodaloo.
Bye-bye.